As you're watching Joy News Desk with me, Daniel Daze. Now, President Akufo-Addo is currently preparing to answer questions bothering the minds of Ghanaians as a presidential press encounter slated for today. Now, today he has invited various media practitioners to ask him questions particularly relating to his first year in government, and all is set currently at the Flagstaff House, where that press encounter, media encounter as he calls it, will be taking place. And we have already gone out to town to speak to a lot of sections of Ghanaians to find out what exactly they will be expecting of today's event. But now let's take you live to Flagstaff House, where our Elton John Brobe is standing by to tell us how far preparations have come. Elton, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Dan.
Right, so what is the picture now at Flagstaff House looking like?
Well, as you can see, we are all getting ready for the media encounter with the President of the Republic. We are at the banquet hall of the Flagstaff House. The place is shaping up. As you can see, media personnel are putting their machines together in readiness for the event, which is scheduled for 11:30 this morning. Now, ahead of that, encounter with the president, I'll be speaking to some people who work here at the Flagstaff House. Fatih Abubakar is a deputy director of communications here at the Flagstaff House. I'll also be speaking to communication specialists at the Flagstaff House, Jefferson Saki, and then some media personnel who are also here to ask the president questions. Now, President Akufo-Addo assumed office on January 7th, 2017. Now, 1 year down the line, he's found it necessary to tell the people of Ghana what he's done so far, what he inherited, and what he's done so far. Remember that he assumed power on the 7th of January 2017 after two failed attempts in 2008 and 2012. But the journey to the presidency actually started in 1998 when he lost the MPP National Delegates Congress to former President J. Akufo in the Borno Half regional capital, Sunyane. J. Akufo went on to win the 2000 elections, won it again in 2004. The MPP lost it to the NDC in 2008, lost it again in 2012 when Akufo-Addo was their flag bearer. But Akufo-Addo came back in 2016 and won decisively in the country. Now, 1 year down the line, he's found it necessary to open up to the media to tell us what he's done so far and what he inherited. Let me bring in Fatih Abubakar. We'll be doing this for the next 1 hour until the event itself starts. Jefferson Saki will also join us here to talk more about they themselves, what they've witnessed so far as the 1 year of the Akufo-Addo administration is concerned. Fatih, you're welcome to join us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Is it fair to say happy birthday to the president, 1 year in office?
It's worth celebrating, actually. It's been a very heavy, hectic, supersonic speed year for the president. He told Ghanaians as soon as he took over from the Eswa Mahama administration that he's in a hurry to turn things around, to move the Ghanaian economy from a Gadgetsburg economy to that of a more industrialized, value-added economy. And for that matter, he has done everything in his power as president of the Republic of Ghana to turn things around for this country. And I believe it's a very important celebration. But most importantly, for the media to get the opportunity from time to time to engage the president, ask relevant questions in the various spheres, and that's exactly what we are doing today.
Right. So around 11:30 or before midday, we're going to hear from the president himself. But you guys have been working with him for 1 year. How would you describe the experience so far?
It's humbling, especially for someone my age. The opportunity to serve alone is something that I was so much looking forward to, and it's been worth it because you get to meet a lot of people. The president is a very hard-working, busy man, which is known to all Ghanaians, and you get the opportunity to tap into his wisdom and his experience. So for some of us, it's been a humbling experience, and we really appreciate it.
Right. And once again, let me say that Fatih is a deputy communication director here at the presidency. Now, you were talking about the president. He is in an advanced age. How you describe his work, output, his work ethics and all that, for even we in the media, whom we can say we are external, observers here at the Flagstaff, or sometimes you come here, you leave here late in the evening. How has it been for you working with such a man who says that he's in a hurry to deliver on the promises he's made to Ghanaians?
Yes, he's one special person. You cannot necessarily get that correlation between his age and his output, because if there is anybody that I've ever known my entire life to give more than 100%, then it's been the president. He's always working day to night. He ropes in weekends and spare times every time, every opportunity for him to work. He has used that opportunity to work very well for Ghanaians. So his output is amazing, it's wonderful, he's really doing great.
Will you say that 1 year you have a lot to report to the people of Ghana?
Definitely, especially on the kind of promises that was made by the president, which were translated in what we had as the NPP's 2016 manifesto. Key amongst them is the free senior high school policy. I believe it is a single policy in education that is really going to change the face of the next generation. Because if the average Ghanaian has a minimum qualification of maybe just SHS, I think is good enough for a starting point. And giving that opportunity to families who couldn't have had the financial access is something worth commending. And also the kind of statistics in terms of economic growth that we are seeing recently, especially from this week, we believe is something worth writing about. And also the fight against corruption. We have always said that, you know what, if there is anybody who is interested in the fight against corruption, the President of the Republic, it has shown in his commitment to his campaign promise, in establishing, shown in his choice of special prosecutor in the person of Mr. Martin Amidu.
Yeah. Basically, as government, as somebody who works here, the president is on track for the next 3 years to deliver on all the things that he's told Ghanaians and run up to the elections.
Yes, I'm very hopeful. I'm very positive about it, especially as he has given presidential assent to a couple of bills that will facilitate the work that he promised Ghanaians to do in terms of the development authorities for the northern, the middle belt, and the coastal belt development authority.
The Zongo Development Authority, which has also been assented to.
Exactly. So looking at the kind of mechanisms put in place, supporting policy with statutes, with the appropriate laws to make sure they get that kind of foundation to proceed, I believe the president is doing the right thing.
We'll talk more. You will stay with me for. Also bring in Jefferson Saki, who also works here at the presidency. He's a communication specialist. Jefferson, if you can tell us what exactly you do here at the presidency for 1 year and what have you done so far?
Well, I am an advisor to the Communications Directorate, basically advising the team as to the right way to go in.
Today's format, what form is it taking?
It's going to be a very straightforward press conference. You're going to have the Minister of Information leading the way, introducing the President. The President is going to speak for a while, presumably 30 minutes. And then, of course, question time. We're going to open, the floor for the various media houses to ask questions. One key thing that has actually been done this time is also to make sure that we have clear, clean representation of all the relevant, media personalities that we need here, from sports to business to entertainment to foreign affairs and all that. So you're going to have a clear representation. So
every facet of our social life will be covered here.
Exactly, so that you get it quite clean and clear that, nothing is left out in terms of, the president's delivery to the nation.
So, we are looking at 2 to 3 hours?
No, we want to keep this within 1 hour. As much as possible, brief and all that.
Anything 1 hour is enough to exhaust all the questions that the media people may have?
Of course. I mean, that's why it's important to keep questions straight to the point. There's no point coming in and whining and asking the same question over and over again. A lot of the people come in here quite prepared, and I'm sure for the representation that we're here, every media house has a clean, clear question that they've given to their various journalists to come and ask. So we don't expect it to drag at all.
Right. You've known President Akufo-Addo since his days as a foreign minister, and then during the 2008 campaign. Now you've worked here for 1 year. How will you describe his performance so far, vis-a-vis work ethics and everything?
This is I must tell you, this is a workaholic president, and for us, the young ones around him, it's surprising how we get exhausted at a point in time where you have the president moving forward. Various, retreat meetings that he's been holding with the ministers and all that at the Peduasi Lodge. There was one clear example where you could see that the ministers were actually exhausted, and yet you had the president still leading the way and all that. So
here at some point, a retreat went as long as 2 a.m.
It goes beyond that sometimes, and this is a retreat that normally starts 9 a.m. and then a quick break around midday, and they come back to sit into the meeting, and then it drags to that extent. So you can imagine this is a president who is really committed to what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He says this year, for example, that it's going to be a supersonic speed. And if we, the young ones, were really struggling to survive everything last year, and for him to tell you that you should brace yourself for a much more speedy delivery, then you can imagine what you should expect. But I can tell you that this is a president who doesn't joke with communication, and you can see for yourself on social media whatever activity that the president engages in every single day, in terms of pictures, in terms of communicating everything that he does. It's out there. For the first time, there is a special program on television.
Let me ask Fatih a final question. This long meetings, these retreats, this cabinet decisions and all that, in terms of tangible results, any to report?
A lot of it. As I mentioned earlier, you can take the president's manifesto, for instance, everything that he had promised Ghanaians. You can see that even within the first year, we've been able to achieve a lot of them. And the few others that will need legal backing to do so, he has put in the appropriate measures to make sure we get the right laws to proceed. And for that matter, you can see that in every aspect of our nation building, the president has
The president's prepared and ready to respond to it.
Yes. Every question is welcome, as long as the question is relevant to the cause of the nation's development. And so there's no restrictions in the usual. You expect that the communications directorate would have to go through the questions that are going to be asked and all that. But no, we're not doing any of that. We're giving the journalists the opportunity to come and ask the question that they think that the Ghanaian people would also want answers to. And the president is prepared, to answer any question at all as we speak here.
And then the other issue has to do with the support that he's likely to get from the ministers and possibly the vice president. Will they also chip in if necessary?
I think the right thing to do if the president is asked some questions, if it is quite technical and he deems it fit for a minister to answer it, I think it is okay for him to call the minister or the vice president to answer those questions. So with the format that we have, that is basically what we have. The president will speak for 30 minutes. We're going to open the floor for the media to also ask questions for 30 minutes, and the president will have the opportunity to answer whatever question that comes from the media.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. So we are all looking forward to that encounter with the president, hopefully before midday. And when it's done, we'll, as usual, come for the reactions and then we'll do the analysis. I've seen people who've come from the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. King Edward works with Hello FM. Also, my very good friend here, Ken Palos with Net2 TV. I just want to speak to the two of them and then to find out, to gauge their expectations ahead of that, an hour encounter with the president. We are all expecting to start at exactly 11:30. First, Ken Edward, welcome to Accra.
Thank you very much.
You've come all the way from Kumasi. It tells the importance you attach to this particular event.
Most definitely.
And your expectation, I'm sure you have a question of your own. What is on your mind?
What's on my mind is, please allow me to keep it to my chest until I meet the man himself.
But you are a talk show host on Hello FM, and 1 year down the line, how do you describe the performance of the Akufo-Addo government, even before we hear from him himself?
I would say not too bad, but more room for improvement, I think.
Improvement in what areas?
In the areas of security, to be very precise, security, because if people are want, if the economic indicators are right and people are not secured, it's very worrisome.
But you are coming from the Ashanti region. What are the concerns of the people? Do you think the government has been proactive in meeting them?
I would say yes and no. For instance, their road networks, to be precise, in Kumasi, gives lots of concern. So I think that the people of Kumasi would want to convey to the president the state of their roads. I mean, their road networks, terrible.
Is that what there is? I'm told electricity is also an issue.
Electricity cannot be an issue because looking from where we've come, I think electricity is not an issue for now. Their road is what I can say is their concern.
All right. I'm sure it will be one of the issues we would like to put across.
I don't want to get everything from my head, but not until I met with the president.
Right. Thank you very much. Palos, you also work with Net2.
Right.
And me and you, we are always on that bus, traveling behind the president on assignments and all that. Yeah, of course. What have you got to report? Has it been 1 year of success?
Well, I think in assessing the 1 year tenure of President Akufo-Addo, I'll give him maybe a successful rating. Successful because of the kind of standards they set for themselves and what they've been able to achieve or roll out currently. I mean, from a struggling and ailing economy to a situation where you can roll out free SHS, which is financially intensive, which you can roll out some of your dream flagship programs, digitizing the economy and all that. I think they need a pat on the back. Of course, there have been a few challenges. Some are mentioning security concerns with the vigilante groups and others. But I've also observed, I mean, our colleague who just went away made mention of the road infrastructure and the road network. It's not just in Kumasi. I'm thinking the state of Ghana's roads, in 2016, hasn't improved that much. So I think that is where maybe today I'm expecting the president to maybe roll out a road infrastructure scheme for us. I'll be interested in asking him that question if I get the opportunity. And another thing is some of the ministries, fund, we need to know what's happening. Are there any new generative ideas in the Zongo communities? What is new? What is the fund going to do? What is the ministry rolling out? How do we benchmark their successes over the past year? What was the situation last year and what is the situation now? So concerns. And finally, for the president, I'd like to find out, is he on track to keep or to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa?
That's very key. Yeah, we've been talking about this
in the background. So I just wanted to find out if he's on track, because for a couple of years, he said 4 years. So are we to beat the Pretoria, the Durbans, the Cairos, the Tunisis in 4 years?
But the question is 1 year is to put judgment on his performance.
Politically, the opponents will always, even one day he's failed or he's done well. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to assess what he's done. Prior to him assuming office, they told us a list of things they would like to do at the end of their tenure. Are they on track? For me, if you ask, yes.
All right. You have to hold on for me for a bit. Let me go to Wilberforce. A member of the Presidential Press Corps with the EIB network. He serves as our secretary of the Presidential Press Corps. Same question. 1 year is been, up and down, moving across the country for the press corps, sometime out of the country. How would you describe the 1 year performance of President Akufo-Addo?
So, Elton, I think that the 1 year of President Akufo-Addo has been rather a busy one. From the perspective of a journalist who works from the presidency for my media house, it has been extremely engaging. We have virtually moved all over the country during this 1 year of the presidency. You remember that the president did a tour of the entire country, going to every region and what have you. There have been several other programs that has taken the president to almost all the 10 regions of the country. So if you ask me, I think that the first 1 year of the president has been very, very busy, very engaging. The other side of it has to do with the interaction he has had with the outside world. You would see that he has had to do a lot of traveling, meeting international partners and leaders. Some of these international leaders have also had to come into our jurisdiction. The last few months saw presidents and heads of states from different countries across the world coming into the country. So generally, if you ask me, it has been a very busy time.
So in terms of strengthening both within and outside, you think that he's been up on the job?
Particularly in the sub-region, the West African sub-region. You remember that the president did a West African tour when he became president. He visited all the 16 countries in West Africa. And that was a sign that the president takes very seriously the people around him, that is the people around the country, Ghana. And so in the sub-region, I think he has been very effective. Also in the AU, I had the opportunity to go with him to Ethiopia to the AU conference in July last year. And he was very well appreciated by his colleague presidents from all over the African continent, to the extent that he even won an award, which was the Gender Champion Award. And so he has been very effective for me, if you ask me, when it comes to the sub-region.
But beyond all the pluses you are giving him, and the concern is that we still have a lot more to do. Now, the opportunity will be provided for you to ask him questions. I just want to know, what is your concern as far as the governance of the nation is concerned, and what do you think that should require his attention as we move into the second year of his administration?
Well, so for me, there are two things that are of concern to me. The first has to do with the housing in Ghana. Housing. I've heard
huge deficit.
There's a huge deficit in housing, and I've heard very little. I know that there's a Minister for Works and Housing, Honorable Atachia. I haven't really seen a lot of efforts there in that area.
And we can actually recollect the fact that in 2007, the Akufo administration started the affordable housing project. As we speak, some of them are still in the bushes, awaiting, consideration for completion.
Absolutely, yes. And so, thank you for the help, Eugene. So you would see that it is something that is of concern to me. I want to know from the president exactly what the program is for his government when it comes to changing this paradigm, which is the housing deficit, and also projects that were started by the Akufo administration that were abandoned by the previous administration, that's the Mahama and Atamil's administration. What is he going to do about it? Is he going to revive it? The housing deficit is a major issue. The second thing that is of concern to me is the IMF program that he and his government inherited from the Mahama administration. It appears to me that there's been a bit of quiet about the IMF program. I want to know
the explanation we've been provided is that the 2018 budget will see off the last stage of the IMF, program, the extended credit agreement.
Yes, so that is true, but I still want to know some amount of money. The total money that I was supposed to receive was something in the region of 900 and something. 500 has been received. I want to know what's going to happen to the rest. If we see off the project, what is going to happen and all that. I need a bit more clarification as far as the IMF program is concerned.
But generally, your general view of the 1 year, if you are to rate him, what will be your conclusion?
Well, from where I stand as a journalist, it will be difficult to go into that area. But I think that if you ask me my personal opinion, I think that the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has demonstrated that he takes his work very seriously. And to that extent, I think that he has very good intentions and purposes for this country. We are hoping that all the intentions and purposes will come to pass. But if you ask me, I think he has taken his work very seriously. And you can also see it telling on most of the people who work with him. Everybody has to crack the whip and make sure that they are in line to make sure Ghana is the winner.
All right, thank you very much. Wilberforce Asare is with the EIB Network. He's a presidential correspondent and also secretary to the Presidential Press Corps. Samiri Afe is with CTFM, and he's looking very good this morning. So tell me, we are all waiting to hear from the president, but what is your account of so far?
First of all, forgive me, I have a terrible cold, so if I'm able to sound the journalist, major campaign promises have been fulfilled. in the run-up to the 2016 election, he spoke about the free SHS. It's been done, or it has been done. He spoke about the planting for food for jobs. That has also been done. And major, campaign promises the president said in the run-up to election, a lot of them have been fulfilled. So for me, where I sit as a journalist and a member of the Presidential Press Corps, I feel the 1 year has been good.
Has been good.
Yeah.
So going forward, what grey areas you think that the president should concentrate his attention on?
A while ago, I heard you speak to my colleague Wilberforce on the housing deficit. I think is an issue the president or the government should look at. Is a huge problem in Ghana where the middle age, or let's say the middle class, people don't have huge sums of money just to go rent. And rent is killing a lot of us. So it's an issue the government should look at in terms of the housing deficit. A lot of people living in Accra and major cities in the country without housing is a problem the president or government should look at. My other issue has to do with sanitation. He promised to make Accra one of the cleanest cities in the world, in Africa. Thank you for the correction. And 1 year down the line, apart from the launch of the national sanitation campaign, we haven't seen much in terms of sanitation. Recently, the mayor of Accra, what's his name? Mohamed Ajesowa, forgive me, started a decongestion that aim at cleaning the city. We hope he continues, but then we've seen past mayors embark on such an activity and we didn't see anything come out of it. So I expect the president to address the issue of sanitation and the national campaign the national campaign which was launched recently. We don't see anything about it. We expect the president to work on these particular things that he said he was going to do.
Right. I'm particularly interested in asking him his interventions as far as dealing with the unemployment situation is concerned. Now, what we've been told is that per the current statistic we have, the unemployment rate in Ghana is about 11.5%, which translates into 1.2 million people without jobs. Now, the president himself has said that they constitute a major threat to the security of the country. What question do you have on your mind that you think the president should address?
Unemployment is one, as you said. Before the election, it was one of his major campaign promise to create jobs for the teeming Ghanaian youth who are without jobs in this country. In the budget of 2018, there was the creation of 100,000 jobs through the brigade that the finance minister spoke about. We haven't seen what this particular thing is. If you remember yesterday, the vice president was at the New Year school in the University of Ghana, Legon, where he addressed the issue of unemployment. Sam Jonah was also there to talk about unemployment. So it's a major issue. I want the president to talk about 1 year down the line, how many jobs the government has created. In moving forward after the first year, how many jobs are we anticipating that is going to create in which sectors? This is the formal or the informal sector. Let's know these particular things.
Finally, what about the media, relationship and reportage on the MPP? Do you think it's been fair? Has the media been critical? Has the media been soft on the government? What is your verdict of the media reportage so far?
I feel the media has been hard on the government and any other government. The job of the journalist or the media is to speak for the thousands of Ghanaians who don't have opportunity to speak on issues that's happening. When the issue of vigilantism came, the media spoke about it. The
issue of the bus contaminated fuel, the allegation that was leveled against the two deputy chief of staff.
It came to the media and we followed it up till the CID cleared these two people. So the media has been very critical of this government and any other government. That's our job. Our job is to put government on its toes and make sure that they fulfill the major promises they made to the Ghanaians before coming to office.
Sami Wiafe, thank you very much, and hope to see you when the opportunity is provided for the questions to be asked.
Definitely, I intend to ask the president.
All right, let me move to the public broadcaster, the presidential correspondent for GTV, Mr. Nyakon. You're welcome to JoyNews.
Thank you very much.
And, how has it been for you? 1 year we all been in this house. What is your verdict?
Well, I would say so far so good because I'm interested in the social policies or safety net program that have been rolled out by the government in terms of free SHS. It's for me it's a very great program because it's eased the burden on parents financially. Another issue that is worth looking at the planting for food and jobs because basically her economy is food If you get food to eat, that's it. So once there are a lot of food out there, people are going to see the income that they earn that has not been, well, I mean, something that's not sustaining them. It can stay with them for a while. Then another issue that is worth looking at critically is also the attempt to formalize the economy. The national identification card that is going to be rolled out this year specifically, and also the paperless regime introduced at the port. They also talk about the Ghana Post digital addressing system. Yes. So these are very crucial ones, because once you're able to do this, then the key to reducing interest rates, as we know, is going to go down. Because I can cite an example. For instance, when Barnett, there was a company called Barnett that used to be at a VAT office near Circle. They came down here from South Africa and they were doing high purchase. And they thought that they could transportation, when you buy the goods on high purchase, they cut the goods to your house to know where you live. But it's interesting, people buying what they from them, put it in their house, and the next morning when they go, they've relocated. So they were finding it difficult to trace those people, and eventually that has resulted in an NPL, was non-performing loans on the books of most of the banks. So once these risk factors are reduced, we're going to see the banks reducing interest rate, because for now there's no corresponding rate, a relationship between the policy rate as well as the lending rate by the banks. So it's making things very, very difficult. So another angle that I, for one, I'm expecting the government to do is about labor issues. At the moment, the Labour Commission...
It's also my concern.
Yeah, Labour Commission, they need to have a full team. It's not in place. The commission has not been appointed yet, so they are finding it difficult to sit down and educate on matters. They are the sole body to do that. And secondly, the Labour Commission has only one office. It's not decentralized. So I'm looking forward to this year, government budget 2018 said they're going to give them 6 million Ghana cedis to be able to do their work. But interesting, last year they provided, the budget allocated 1.2, but only 700,000 Ghana cedis was released. So we see if they're going to make sure some of these things are well catered for.
Well, as a public broadcaster, what has been like the relationship between the public broadcaster and the regime of the day? I mean, the criticism that you all... How has it been like for you and the government?
Let's take it from this way. We coming from somewhere. What is the antecedent? Okay, we used to be under a certain regime. Now we are from 1992, as I've way back 2002. We do it. I'm a cash for seed probe. We did it live.
Private media house also did it, including my own.
Okay, fine, that's great. But there are some basic things we would do other media stations will not do. But like I said, I have never seen a minister walk to A, B, C, D. But we are coming from somewhere. So sometimes unconsciously or consciously, you end up doing things thinking that somebody stands behind you. But thank God at the moment we are free and we are doing everything. It will take a lot of resources. And that's how come we're calling for some revenues to be generated through the TV lines.
Well, but how are you taking it from your...
Because we need some logistics.
Still watching Joy News Desk. I am Daniel Dazi. We're counting down to that presidential media encounter. President Akufo-Addo marking his first year in office by answering questions bothering the minds of the media. Now, this is the second of its kind since he took office, the first being 6 months after his regime began. Of course, we will be bringing you that event live here on Joy News. But ahead of that, we are speaking with journalists who will be asking him those questions at Flagstaff House. Let's go back and join Elton John Bobby.
So at 11:30, we are expecting the president to walk in. Here's how the format is going to be. As you can see on my right, where you have the black chairs, that is where the president and then his ministers will say. Now, the president's seat, as you can see, is right in front of the Ghana flag and the flag of the Ghana Armed Forces. The white seat or the cream seat you also see there is reserved for the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. And then the black ones you can see, that's where the ministers of state also have their seat. And then on the left side as well, you can see Mr. Ajin Blanson, you can see Otiko Afisi Jaba. You can also see the Information Minister Kwaku Sechado, who is the chairman of the National Communication Authority, Kojo Opon Kroma. So those are people who will provide support for the president. Now the format is such that the president is going to be the only person to respond to all the questions that will come in. If he finds it necessary, he will relay the questions to some of the ministers who will join him here to provide support. But basically, the president will be the one to speak. He will speak for 30 minutes. That will be his introduction to the event. And once he is done, he will take his seat and then take questions from the media. The press conference or the media encounter was centered primarily on the government's 1 year in office so far. So what we are doing is now gauge the mood of the media ahead of that news conference, and then we can speak to more of them, find out what they make of today's encounter, what questions they have on their mind, and then their own, assessment of the government's stewardship so far from January 2017 up till now. Remember that President Akufo-Addo attempt at the presidency started in 2008 when he succeeded President Kufuor as far as the party leadership is concerned. Eventually, he lost to the NDC's Professor John Evans Atta-Mills. In 2012, he lost to John Mahama, went to court. He raised issues about voting irregularities. Eventually, the Supreme Court affirmed the decision of the Electoral Commission, and then John Mahama mandate to continue to rule. But in 2016, emphatically, the people of Ghana gave him the mandate he's been looking for since 2008. And he's been president for 1 year. Now, he's decided to tell the people of Ghana what he's done so far. And then,
So we'll be going back soon to Elton for him to wrap up quickly, getting to time to the beginning of that press encounter. But JoyNews' Maxwell Agbagba spoke with some commercial drivers to find out what they want to hear from the presidents today.
The person who be some man say, "A driver's license. I'm say yes, you go school. The school had to say, Nana, your president Nana. I'm so go school from class 1 ya go see baby what do certificate in the kutan and no one the kutan. Me who's overdo president no yakatan so wants to certificate. Na me just say aban bi oba say driver's say driving license. Yes to school ni yekoye na no ane akọ. Me makwa ko do F. Say ni yesi yensa. I mean tiase. Enten na mpese bi say yensa ko school empenfo no certificate no omu ko school ansa na bi be MP no o ma sesa certificate na.
Well, he says that he has been working for some time as a driver, and his certificate is his driving license. But he really does not understand why usually they get, some information being put out there that they should change their driver's license. But in this case, he's speaking directly to the new DVLA driving license. He says his driver's license is actually his certificate, and he cannot fathom why, the ministers who are in the various offices, even the president, is not told to change his certificate, the one that he went to the university, the one that he got after attending the university. The president is not asked to change it after a particular time. He clearly has issues with the new DVLA license, and he wants journalists to ask the president that when they encounter him today.
This year, patron, and I say, okay, patron, and say, you got to free baby, and Obin got 1,000, and for 80 pesos. Minimum sa na yensu yen koto diesel no 20 na yensu yen nyina lolo fe no ye ka wona fo no susu no haye wo sesi anso a no agikan adwuma so ni ho mi a meka se mako school awie mako secondary school awie me nya dwuma mi kuta certificate mi ye short time type
2% petrol no moti so anaso He says that his second issue would be about the price of petrol. He says the price keeps going up and they really do not make any money when the petrol keeps increasing, and he wants the president to either reduce the cost of the fuel or maybe increase the cost of transportation fares for them so they can at least break even or make some profits.
As some person will be critically MP na yokum Ebuakwa no.
Ebuakwa South MP JB Dankwa.
Ache wokum no kran sa na MPP ban ti tam na MPP ban de me minim say MPP for bad there. What dey nim say lawyers kran na bribia je say obetuma di sankrofo na sem. Yakum krofo ya ma MPP aba yes the report bi kura yira wo obi timi kipu woni dem ma akromfo abefa what one wo hwe ye nje wo hwe na yire ne maso krofo so esu an wo so yente hwe no bi se mi se e de be na wo akwane wu ni mu kura anti na yentimi di sasam no da no when be plan not tell one son of you.
Well, he wants journalists who've been having an opportunity to meet the president to ask him exactly what they're doing to ensure, speedy trial or bring some kind of closure or, prosecute the perpetrators. I know somebody will be what called to see.
I was what called you say the reporter if you was the back report I with them.
Okay.
And say.
Well, he has issues with the trial of the perpetrator of that crime, the one who allegedly killed the member of parliament for Ebuakwa South, JB Dankwa. He says that it happened before the NPP came into power, and the New Patriotic Party has actually touted, the many lawyers or famous lawyers within their ranks. So he thought that with the NPP coming into power, they will be able to prosecute or ensure speedy trial or bring justice to this. But he says that is not happening, and he wants the president to ensure that justice itself.
And those are the views of some commercial drivers here at Kwame Nkrumah Interchange in Accra. You're still watching Joy News Desk. I am Daniel Daze. There's more to come after this break. Still watching Joy News Desk here on the Joy News channel. Today, President Akufo-Addo is addressing the media, answering all sorts of questions from media men from across the country as he marks the first year of his government. Our Elton John Brobe, presidential correspondent for us here at Joy News, is at the Flagstaff House, the banquet hall of the Flagstaff House, where the media encounter will begin shortly. But Elton is speaking to some media practitioners ahead of the event. Let's join him now. Right, Elton, so if you can hear me, what's happening now?
Well, we are still in waiting. The event itself is starting at 11:30. The room is getting filled up because people have started taking their seats. Let's wrap up here and then let you have the final bite before we bring you the president at exactly 11:30. Dr. Gideon Boakom is a spokesperson for the vice president. He also serves as a technical advisor in the office of the vice president. Let me gauge him. He's an economist by profession, so we can speak more about what government has done so far in formalizing the economy and what's we have to tell the people of Ghana.
Isn't that the president standing back there?
That this encounter will last. Gideon, so 1 year, what have you really done in formalizing the economy, making the economy resilient?
My brother, for having me this morning. Remarkable, and at the New Year school, quite a good number of revelation as to what has been able to do for and a lot of things have been done for the first time in the history of this country. For instance, the real GDP growth rate that this government has been able to achieve in a year is the best since 1992. President Robinson's first year, his second term, President Kufuor's, that of President Mills, that of President Mahama, none of the periods was able to have such a quantum jump
in the real GDP growth rate than as the President Akufo-Addo first year has been able to achieve.
Are you taking absolute credit for this? Somebody may have done the work for you?
It's necessary. It's not like that. I mean, for all you know, government is in a continuation, and so we can give some credit to the previous administration. But the good thing is that whatever is happening under this government, and credit ought to be given to the policies that this government have put in place to achieve that. It is not as if the government came and was sitting down, and there was a history. When this government was coming from 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, growth was declining. So it wouldn't take just a matter of miracles or a matter of superstition for anybody to assume that you just came, you sat down and things are happening. Government really put in place good measures to ensure that. One of the things we did, quite remarkable, and that has also fed into the success of this GDP growth achievement, is the fact that the issue of doomsday has been a thing of the past. Relatively, you could see that the kind of doomsday that we had in the previous years, we're not having it today. To abolish, cut certain nuisance is also quite effective in this regard. Somebody may ask, government should get money to do whatever it wants to do, but this government decided to take a decision to cut taxes, i.e. deprive itself of some revenue that ought to come to him. But there was a thinking behind this. The idea of government relieve businesses of the pressures of paying huge taxes that are even nuisance and let them plow back the money that otherwise they should have used to pay the taxes into their businesses for the businesses to grow. And as the businesses grow, the economy also expands. Government benefits. You have the opportunity to create jobs. And that is basically what this government did.
Let's stay with the job issue, because even as we talk about the successes, unemployment is a big issue. Indeed, the government is ever described as a threat to the security of the country. What are you doing to fix it? We have almost 1.5 million people in.
First and foremost, before you are able to solve the problem of unemployment, you needed to lay the foundation that will give you space. You needed to create space for work. If you don't create the space, you'll not be able to employ. So we designed the management of this economy as a farmer who was tilling a farm. Assume that when we came into office, the total land area tillage was 3.7 hectares. And this government decided to expand the farm size from 3.7 hectares to 7.9 hectares. And now that the farm has been expanded, that is the GDP, you then can employ new laborers onto the farm. So going forward, the government has the Nation Builder Score. Right. The Nation Builder Score is going to create jobs for 100,000 young graduates in this country this year, alongside other job creation opportunities from the National Youth Employment Program and other civil society,
It's been 1 year.
Excellent 1 year. Excellent. The first year of the President Akufo-Addo's government has achieved successes that former president could not achieve in their first year. For the first time since 2006, this government has been able to meet its fiscal deficit target with some surplus. The target was 6.3%. Even the IMF doubted that this government would be able to do that. We've achieved that crossover industry from a negative 0.5% to 17.7%. This is quite remarkable, and we ought to celebrate this achievement on the head of the president.
We hear more from President Akufo-Addo, but for now, thank you very much, Dr. Gino. Welcome. He is the technical advisor at the Office of the Vice President, also a spokesperson for the Vice President. Let me speak to two very known voices on radio. He's also our head of our political, host of the City Breakfast Show. But Evans, you've been asking all the questions in the last 1 year. Yeah. And based on the responses you've received from the people you've been, will you say that 1 year has been good for the NPP administration, that they need to celebrate it?
Well, I mean, you have to break it down into various sectors. So if you look at, I guess, the main sector, which will be the economy, one scientific research that has come up so far is the University of Ghana research they did, which was published last week, which sampled the public views on the president's administration of the economy so far. And largely, most that they, well, any change at all, that the economy has not improved. In fact, when you go to living conditions, majority there say they haven't seen anything in terms of improvement in their living conditions.
But generally, some say that if election were to be held that day, they would have voted the MPP.
That's true. That's where the contradiction was. But speaking specifically about the economy, that's what people thought. And so, clearly, yes, one has 3 more years to go. When we put the same question 1 year to get the macroeconomic indicators stable, that we're not going to spend the next year and the next 2 years dealing with issues that will affect people's pockets, etc., that they can get to reflect in their living conditions and their lifestyles, etc., the way they live. And so clearly, on the economic side of things, that's what the research has said. I mean, if you look at governance, you say that we've seen some tremendous improvements in the area of governance. So a key area will be fighting of corruption. Martin Amidu has been appointed. I guess the president will take a lot of questions on Martin Amidu today, because this is the first time since last week when he announced him that we can get to interrogate really what went. I'd express some reservations about his appointment. That is a governance masterstroke, because it deals with one of the biggest challenges we have as a country, corruption. Also, the personality will strike fear into every heart. That he's kept his promise to engage us every 6 months. Other presidents have said they will do so regularly. It doesn't appear as a regular, but he kept his promise. It's been it's good. Why? Because
Still watching Joy News Desk, and we'll be switching over to take some of your Facebook comments. That was Evans Mensah, Joy News editor, the host of Newsnight, co-host of Newsnight, I should say, speaking with our Elton John Brobe. We'll be trying to guess the rest of what he said. But now it's time for us to take some of your comments on social media, your questions to the president. Our Facebook page has been buzzing, and Bernice Abubede will be joining me right after this.